diet, particularly a whole foods diet. So first thing you need to do, head on over to my website, andyholt.co.uk, go to, well, it depends on how you look at it. If you're going to look at it this way, resources, hang on, get rid of that notification. Under resources here, you've got diet plans and recipes. So everything we're going to talk about is in this diet plans and recipes article. This is like what I promote anecdotally to get fucking jacked. No, seriously though, I explain everything in here in terms of how to get the right, because what you're after is, if you ask me, right, you're after a nice body composition, which is quite lean. You want to see all these like veins and stuff like this. So you want to be low body fat. You want quite a decent amount of muscle mass. I'm not massive, but I'm not small either. But I used to be a lot bigger when I was in my early 20s. I was an absolute beast. I was just trying to be as big as possible, eating full chickens for fun, you know, eating like 4 pints of milk in one go, stuff like this, just hammering protein left, right, and centre. Back then, we used to take a supplement called animal packs, which were like a bag of about 30 big capsule supplements. And you just used to piss yellow, you know what I mean? It was all the vitamin C and everything else. Anyway, I'm back doing that, by the way, with the tablets, but not quite as bad as that. More for biohacking. Anyway, I'm rambling on. My goals today are not to become as big as possible. It's more about being as healthy as possible, having a decent amount of muscle mass, but also respecting longevity. So if you think about my two primary goals, right? Number one, getting decent shape, so lean, good body composition, reasonable amount of muscle mass, because that helps you to stay lean. The more, you know, once you get muscle, strength, all those kind of things, but also longevity, which is biohacking. And growing muscle and biohacking have some opposing characteristics. Hey, how are you doing? Kason, or is it Archie? Kason Archie, how are you doing? Anyway, those two goals have opposing characteristics, opposing needs, because on the one hand, to grow, Kason, how are you doing? Nice to have you on board. Anyway, on the one hand, to grow muscle, you need lots of protein, which is fine, but you also need, ideally, a calorie surplus, right? So slightly more calories than you're burning, so you grow. Biohacking, one of the fundamental of longevity is calorie restriction. So you can see that kind of conflict there, and it takes some like clever manipulation of both them goals to get the best outcome. So you have to, what I do basically is you calculate your maintenance calories, and you have to flip between the two. So you calculate your maintenance calories, and you're constantly oscillating between a slight bulk and a slight surplus. Sorry, slight surplus and a slight deficit. So when you're on a bulk, you're never doing a dirty bulk, you're always doing a clean bulk. And what you're doing is you're just eating more of the whole foods during that period, right? So if you hop on over to my website, andyholt.co.uk, like I say, go into the resources, under resources, diet plans and recipes. I explain everything here, so we'll just skip through it, right? The first thing, we're going to go for a whole foods diet, right? But it's going to be for both those two goals. One, getting great shape, lean. You're not going to be massive. If you want to be massive, you're going to have to stuff yourself full of all sorts of crap, carbs, all sorts of stuff that will oppose the longevity goal. So you can do that for a period of time. You can just go on a growth spurt. And if you're sort of in your early 20s, it's quite easy to sort of put on, you know, decent amount of strength and size. But anyway, the 4 goals on my diet plans and recipes: whole foods wherever possible. So what we're trying to do here is absolutely cut out as much processed food as possible. If you look at the book, Chris Van Tolken's book, which is on my reading list, Ultra Processed People, he talks in there, and he's also on like TED Talks and things, where he talks about, you'll find him on YouTube, he talks about typically in the Western world, the average diet is up to 80% processed foods, which is shocking, right? So you're talking even like buying like mainstream supermarket products, anything in a can, even bread has got preservatives and all sorts of crap in it. So wherever possible, you want whole foods. What does whole foods mean? It means getting it in its raw form. So a piece of meat, a cabbage, you know, a carrot, you know, in its raw form, and then cooking from there, you know, rather than getting pre-prepared food. So that's what we want to do. The next goal is high protein. So you always want to be high protein first. Next one, and you need to figure out how to calculate your protein. I'll talk about that in a second. Next one, low overall calories. I believe that, you know, the hallmark to longevity is calorie restriction. There's so many other things, but the biggest bang for the buck basically is just not eating any more calories than you absolutely need. And like I say, you can oscillate between a clean bulk, slight bulk, and a slight deficit depending on where you are, but overall you're going to maintain your calories over the year. And then I say generally low carbohydrate, right? This depends on, you know, whether you go fats or carbs. You don't have to go full keto, but generally watching bad carbs, certainly any like direct white carbs or bad processed carbs like breads, pizzas, any shit like that, you want to kind of cut out as much. It's all right to have a bit of bread every now and again, especially if it's homemade, that's great. But essentially, the main reason why you want to control your carbohydrates is because what you're trying to do is control your blood sugars, right? To lower your body inflammation. Because inflammation, body inflammation, which you can just measure with a blood test, is the single biggest thing that leads to any terminal disease. You know, I'm not a doctor, but if you look into it, you know, what's the thing that leads to diabetes, right? Cancer, all these things, right? Flipping heart disease, Alzheimer's, they're all based on inflammation. So you've got to watch your inflammation. That's why I go low carb. I also feel better. I like the feeling of it, you know, but it's not for everyone. If you can perform well on ketones, I can. I love it. It makes me think sharper, all that kind of thing. But I'm not saying you have to go full keto. For me, it's just really trying to reduce unnecessary carbohydrates. Certainly no processed bad white carbs, shit like fucking bread and pizza. Just get rid of that, right? Once you've hit them 4 goals, so whole foods, high protein, low overall calories, generally low carbohydrates, then you're good to go. The next section, I do actually explain whether you go carbs or fats. That's up to you, honestly. Processed shite, like avoid chips. Problem with chips is most chips are cooked in canola oil. It's like the single, I think, probably the worst thing for inflammation, right? Canola oil. It's just overcooked. So even oven chips are fucking smothered in the stuff, so avoid it. Obviously, I've got the next section, 3 benefits to eating meat. This is like, well, we all know we want meat to be strong, but the next section after that, I'll talk about meat-free protein sources. Right. So when I mean the 3 benefits to eating meat, I mean the 3 benefits to eating protein, really. Because, you know, you don't have to get it from meat. But anyway, what are the benefits to eating protein, right? Eating protein satiates, it fills you up more than any of the other macros, which means you'll feel full, right? If you ever had a big steak and you're just done, aren't you? You're just not interested in eating after that. It's great. If you've ever been to, I've not had McDonald's for years, but if you ever had a McDonald's, you eat it and you're just not full and you want to crave more. And this is what I get from sort of reducing all that shite. It's like a craving, you know what I mean? It's like you need more, more, more. So when you eat good whole foods like meat or protein, you feel full. Protein makes you feel full. So it stops you eating, right? The next one is protein. Out of all the macros, it actually burns more calories just, digesting it. It consumes, it's got like a higher thermic effect, it needs more just to break it down. So you even burn more calories having it. And then the third benefit I've got here is it builds lean mass, builds muscle. Protein is the building block of life. The great thing about that is the more lean mass you have, even just having it, it's like I remember watching a Mike Thurston video. I was talking about just walking along on the beach. Him, because he's absolutely massive. Just going for a walk with all that muscle will just literally keep him lean. It just the muscle itself, just having it, even at rest, burns calories. So it's great. Next section, I'll talk about meat-free protein sources. All I can say about this, right, this is not my speciality. I have done a bit of vegan cooking and certainly a lot of vegetarian cooking. The main issue with this is just to make sure you get the right amino profile. And also, if you are going meat-free, that's fine. All I say is just, don't be militant about it. Because a lot of people that I meet, they try and convince you, and it's like, God, you get into a kind of scientific row and this, that, and the other. You don't need to get engaged in that. All it is just, I'm going to talk about checking bloods anyway. So, you can do it meat-free, but you have to be really switched on with diet. You have to really know what you're doing, where you're getting your sources from, because the typical things that go are aminos like leucine, amino acids, which you can get a supplement for, and other things are like vitamin B12 tends to be not as abundant in a plant-based diet, but you can cover all these with supplementation or being like really, really tight with your diet. That's up to you, just giving you a few warnings. Tips for eating out. Obviously, if you go to restaurant, you've got to watch. I prefer to cook every meal from scratch at home every day. Now, I'm lucky my lifestyle allows that. However, I do travel a lot. So when I travel, I really have to be careful. Like if I was traveling for the day, just out during the day, and I was in my car and I was like, rolling into a service station. So a few years ago, what I used to do when I roll into service station, I used to buy like a fucking Ginster's pasty or something, right? And wonder why my health went to shit a few years ago, because I was just stuffing myself with anything or a sandwich or whatever's on the shelf. Don't ever get any of that shite. What you're better off to do if you're on the road and you roll into services, I would just buy pack of cooked chicken. Even if it's not the best quality, it's better than the sandwiches. So pack of cooked chicken and a couple of pre-cooked boiled eggs. They're usually there. Get them, stuff them. If you go into a restaurant, sometimes you have to say order steak or chicken, and it might come with, I don't know, chips or something. Just don't eat the chips or ask them to drop it more salad, that kind of thing, right? So it's pretty easy. All you're trying to do, but one of the rules I would do while I was out traveling, that would be a good time to fast, right? Just try and not eat that much and prioritize protein over the quality of, obviously, protein first. Try and get the best quality protein. It's not usually going to be the best because you don't know where it's coming from. And then after that, you're not going to be worried about micronutrients at that point. Wait till you get home. So just try and, just prioritize protein while you're traveling. Right. Okay. On my website, because I'm going to have to go here, Roberto's just give me a ring. I've got meditation with him. I talk about supplements, right? First thing you should do is get a blood test, right? So you're on a whole foods diet. You want to get a blood test because you've got to watch out for things, particularly if you're going to go low carb, because you've got to watch out for your cholesterol's going to go up, which everyone thinks cholesterol's bad. It's not really. It's only bad in extreme quantities. Cholesterol's actually quite good because it's a source of testosterone and many other things, right? And if you go keto, your cholesterol will go up, right? So you've got to watch it, right? So you want to get a blood test. You want to look at your hormones. You want to be looking at your like testosterone, but that's not just total test. You've got free testosterone, SHBG, which is the binding protein, which will basically swallow up most of your testosterone. So you want to look at your available free testosterone compared to your overall testosterone. And your free testosterone will generally be 1.5 to 2% of your overall testosterone, your total testosterone. And that's healthy. If it's low, chances are your SHBG is too high, which is your binding protein. It's not sex hormone binding globulin, which is it's like a binding protein. It basically stops that free testosterone becoming useful. So that may be because there's too much iron can do this. There's all sorts of things. You have to read my website, I explain here. But you can, there's ways to reduce iron and things like this. You can, there's phlebotomy. There's absolutely cut out iron from your supplements. But what you want to do is get your bloods done. I explain on my website how to do it, where to go. Check your hormones. Check certain things. You also want to be, you've got to watch iron and vitamin C for SHBG levels. See where you are. Best thing to do, if you've got a problem, just email me. My links are down below. I'll help you out. I do talk about some biohacking supplements, things like this, right? What you want to do before you start attacking any biohacking is, it's all experimental, right? I've done a couple of videos on it. You want to optimize yourself, because all these kind of top up remedies and processes and procedures and supplements, they only really work on an already optimized human, right? So you want to get the basics right: sleep, whole foods diet, get your inflammation down, sort your hormones out, and then once you feel great and you're strong and you're lifting, then you can start topping up with things like red light therapies, extra, NAD boosters, all this stuff. Coenzyme Q10, I've got here, spermidine, NMN. There's a list of them. I'm not going to go into it there. I did like a meetup group where I used to list all like 40 odd supplements I was taking a day. I'm not that bad now, but there's all sorts of things that you can do. And then here underneath, I've got my recipes. Key ones you want to look at: the keto eggs with salmon. This is like the best breakfast. It's basically scrambled eggs, salmon, peppers, onions. You can chuck in a bit of salad there. You can't go wrong with that. Eggs are one of the best sources of nutrition. All of these meals that I've got on my website, in my diet plans, they're all high protein, low overall calories. And the good thing is, you can eat them like 3 or 4 times a day. Smash your protein, all whole foods, lower your inflammation, and still be well in a calorie deficit. So then you can choose to top it up, if you know to track calories. The other one is, they call it, everyone takes a piss, call it gourmet beef. It's basically the one meal that you can live off. I'm taking the piss here, but you can literally eat this 3 times a day if you want. It's just flipping shredded beef, right? Lean, organic shredded beef, if you can get it, right? With onions, peppers, mushrooms, bit of cheese, you can chuck a bit of cucumber in there, stuff like this. And that is all you need to survive. It'll be brilliant. Right, I've got to shoot, so I've got to go and do my meditation. Go and check out my diet plans and recipes at andyholt.co.uk. Go to resources, go diet plans and recipes. It's all there. I'm actually producing a little ebook with some instructions on that I'll be putting on soon. So yeah, thanks for listening. See you all next